Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today I have another 10 recent eyeshadow palettes I tried review video. So if you're unfamiliar with these videos, I like to group 10 eyeshadow palettes together that I've tried, that some of them are perhaps more recent, others may be new to me, so they may have been out for a while, and I try them out, do swatches, do looks off camera, and then I sit down and sort of give you the full lowdown on 10 different eyeshadow palettes that I personally tried. In today's video, I'm going to not only have 10 palettes, there are a few more, but some of them are grouped together because I like using them together, or they're part of the same collection, if you know what I mean. So if you've been in touch with my channel for the past few months, you may know what's coming. So yeah, some of these I already filmed videos with as well, but I'm pretty sure that every palette here was already mentioned either in a haul, like my 2019 favorite eyeshadow palette video that I did, or I've done a dedicated video on it. So let's just get straight to it. And before we start, I do want to mention that this is the second time filming this video because I wanted to film this on my new camera. So you're on my new camera right now. Yes, I got some new camera equipment. So I'm hoping you like the quality. Let me know in a comment down below what you think of it. Then the reason why I had to refilm was because the camera was like drunk the first time I filmed it. Everything I moved, the image moved, which was super annoying to watch. So that's why I'm quickly refilming this, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get to it. So let's just start with the beginning, because I sort of rotate my palettes and try to do looks with them every single time. And what goes together for me is a Jeffree Star Jawbreaker and Mini Breaker. I bought this over the summer, I think towards the end of August, I think I may have purchased these, or early August. So I didn't really get round to using these until the start of October, I think. That's when I started doing looks with this. So I bought both because I feel they go hand in hand. Let's talk about the large one first. So this is the 24 eyeshadow Jawbreaker palette. And this is a really stunning, bright palette. If you are in the market for a good bright eyeshadow palette that kind of does a lot, it doesn't do everything sadly, then this is definitely a really good option. You get a good array of mattes and shimmers in here. You get a lot of brights, but also these like more muted down pastels over here, so that's nice. The only gripe I have with this palette is that it doesn't go very deep. So I feel that a lot of the looks I get out of this just don't have a lot of versatility because there isn't a lot of depth. The darkest shades you get in here are a shimmery purple, this like taupey brown shade, but it's not that deep. It's actually more like a medium transition shade, and this like navy shade. This looks really dark in the pan, but when you blend it out, maybe it's because I have a very light skin tone, that could be an issue, but this raspberry shade is a lot brighter than it is in the pan. So that's a bit of a shame, and not every shade in this palette works really well for me, especially Sour, which looks like a stunning green in the pan. This shade just wouldn't stick to my eye. I had a very difficult time blending this. It just kind of disappeared and fluffed all over the place. When I stick a brush in it, it also has a lot of kick up, and I just think it doesn't have enough binding agents in my particular one, so I think it's just a bit of a faulty pressed shadow. Everything else in here works really well. I always say this about Jeffree Star. I feel that a lot of his palettes come with a bunch of neutrals that I don't necessarily need. I feel that in this one you just get 3. You have these 2 at the top, and then you have this like matte shade and maybe this peachy shade. So there's like 4, and everything else is really colorful. So that's really cool. I like how you get a really good yellow, you get a good pink. This red and orange are really nice as well. This bright blue is stunning. I love the purple shimmer, and my favorite shade has to be this one. This is Cotton Candy, which is a really nice, really intense shimmering pink, and that's what swayed me to buy this palette. However, I feel that the Jawbreaker is incomplete without the Mini Breaker, and I've kept the Mini Breaker in its packaging because I just like that lime green. But the palette itself is just a boring white. I wish they would have done that lime green on the outer packaging. That would have been much better. And the Mini Breaker looks like this. And this is actually, I think that if you're going between the two and you know you don't want to buy both, then I think I would recommend buying just the Mini Breaker over the Jawbreaker, because I feel that this can actually do quite a bit for just in 9 shades. You get some pinks and purples, so that's already like 2 different looks. And then these browns and bronzes go together really, really nicely as well. I'm not a big fan of orange, but this works really well. And I think what this large palette misses are these 2 shades. I think that Purple Punch and Hot Fudge should have been in the larger Jawbreaker, because those are the 2 shades I feel I need to get more versatility out of this palette. It has, I think, 2 repeat shades. Yes, Bubblegum and Bite Me. These 2 at the bottom are also in the larger palette, which is why, you know, you don't really need this. But this has a really stunning duochrome, like purpley pinky shift. You get Double Scoop, which is like a mustard brown, and I love mustard browns. So I feel that you can do quite a lot with this little palette, maybe even more than you would with such a colorful large palette, is what they look like together. And you can see that these shades just slot into this so nicely. So when I was doing looks with these, I definitely sort of dibbed around between the 2, and whenever I feel like using this palette, I would definitely pull in this, but this I feel I would pull in as a standalone also because it's smaller. Yeah, by now you will have seen, of course, some looks and some swatches and things like that, because I always feature those in these videos as well, so that you get a good feel for what you can do with these palettes. So I do really like these. I'm happy with my purchase. It's just that I feel that this could have just been a better palette, I feel, personally, and the Mini Breaker is where it's at for me. So a palette that I've had for a while, but that I realized I hadn't featured in one of these videos yet, but that is one of my favorites, is the Menagerie Cosmetics Ferrule palette. This is a stunning palette for a number of reasons. First of all, it's got pretty hefty packaging. This is a heavy palette, so especially if you're in Europe, be prepared to pay quite a bit for shipping and also custom fees, because this is quite a heavy palette. You get what you see on the front in terms of color story inside it. These like pinks and greens and teals that you see in the front of the packaging is exactly what you get inside. And this color story is perhaps one of the best color stories I've seen a brand do in a long time, for a number of reasons. At first, this kind of freaked me out when I got it, because I was like, oh, what am I gonna do with that? It looks like it's all over the place. But I actually found that as I was playing around with it, a lot of these shades go very nicely together. You get 2 neutrals, and I believe the original version of this palette also had 2 neutrals here at the top, but the owner of the brand, based on customer feedback, decided to change these top 2, and I think it's for the better, because I think that having these 2 is sufficient to make it work. This one here is a nice transition shade, but of course it's how you combine these colors together what's really going to make or break this palette. You get 3 shimmers, yes, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Everything else is matte. You can make this a little bit more cool toned if you stick to like this row, but if you go in with the red and the yellow and these sort of shades, you can also make for a more warmer look. I definitely went with a look where I did sort of something like with the greens, and then I did something with the warm tones, and then I did something like neutral. This turquoise shade and also this purple are really nice either to combine with other shades or as a pop of color on the lower lash line. And this shade right here, called Wolfling, is one of the most unique shades in my entire eyeshadow palette collection. It is like a goldy duochrome. Let me see if I can show you this. So there you have that swatch. I'm not sure if I can show you this really well, but this is so stunning. So this is a really stunning palette. It has some unique shades, and really depending on how you put everything together, you can really get some really versatile looks out of this. So I love this. I just really like this. The third palette that I wanted to feature in this video, that's another one that I hadn't really shown yet, is the Lethal Cosmetics Build Your Own palette that I made on their website. They have a really cool tool. Lethal Cosmetics, if you don't know, is a German indie brand. So if you're based in Europe, you won't have to pay for customs. And I think their shipping is free over 60 euros. And I think that a Build Your Own palette is 60 euros, if I'm not mistaken. So what this is, you get the palette and then you get to pick 12 shades of your choice. I'm not exactly sure right now as I'm filming this what every single shade is called, but I will make sure to list the shade names of the palette in here in the description box below. This is a stunning palette. I fell in love with the quality of this palette, so much so that I'm actually eyeing up my next purchase, and I'm already playing around with the BYOP tool to build another one of these. Probably based around their Landfall and Skyward collection that they did. So you can just, they have these bundles that you can also put in a palette like ready-made. They now also have a ready-made palette. They also now have a 9-pan palette if that's more up your street. But I love these square pans. I love how sleek this looks. And I just really like these colors. This lime green, like bright shimmer shade is life. And then I went with some like murkier shades here, some turquoises, and then some teals. And then I've got like some purpley pinks. I put in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mattes and everything else in shimmer, because I think that in their collection, they do some really, really stunning shimmers. They do some more unique shades that are more difficult to find in other brands as well. These eyeshadows blend themselves. Lethal Cosmetics is definitely something that I would like to get some more by because they are amazing. Next up is some things that I also bought in my New York haul. So if you saw that video, then you know I bought a few eyeshadow palettes, not too many, because I knew Black Friday was going to give me better deals. So I sort of waited around for that before I bought something else. But the Naked Honey had just been released. And of course, if Urban Decay comes out with a new palette, I definitely want to check it out. I am a bit more selective by now. I definitely don't buy everything they do. And especially not if it's limited edition, but the Naked line is one of my OG favorites. And when I saw the Naked Honey at first, I thought, ooh, that's not gonna work out for me, because warm tones and me, you know, not my favorite. But then I started playing around with it, and then I actually realized that it's not that warm toned, as in it's warm toned, but it's not super dark. It's not like bronzy browns, which I don't like. But these are more yellow toned. And for some reason, I also feel this way about bronzer, by the way, that if I have a more yellow toned like mustard shade, that's a warm tone that really works really well on my complexion. So this has a lot of mustard browns, it just does. So that's why I am really digging this palette. It's not super deep and dark, which is another thing I appreciate because I'm quite fair. And those really dark black or black and brown shades, or like chocolatey brown shades, I only use those as liner. So for me, like having so many palettes that already have a black, I don't really need that. So I appreciate that the darkest you get in here is like a good brown, but it's nothing too crazy dark. I can either go in with these darker shades. These, I have to say, are my favorite. Because you do get this like warm toned like amber shade. I think it's also called amber. Yes, it's called amber. But you do get a couple of really good neutrally mattes. The shade Honey in here, which looks like a really nice bright pop of yellow, is a bit more of a topper shade for me. I compared it to another shade by Urban Decay called Honey that I have in their really old deluxe shadow box, and that was a bit more golden toned, but it did have better pigmentation despite it being like over a decade old. This is just a little bit sheer and not that interesting. I would say that if you cover up these two shades in the middle, that's the color story you get, which is a very sort of monochromatic mustard brown look, and I'm living for it. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be seeing more of this. Not too yellow tone, but a little bit more mustardy brown is very welcome, I think. More neutrals then, because I've been definitely on a bit of a neutral kick, and also this month I really sense that I'm really going into like the neutral like end of the spectrum. I have the Huda Beauty Nude Obsessions palettes. I bought these in New York. These were also in my haul, and I know there are 3. I don't have the medium because it's so warm toned, but the light I felt was a bit limiting, so that's why I also wanted to buy the rich in order to really sort of get the use out of these palettes, because I feel that this is a bit limiting. I feel that this just has better mattes and this has better shimmers. So for me, like with the Jeffree Star, these kind of go together and make one palette. Also, I've been very intrigued by her new nude palette, but there are 3 shades in that palette, the 2 glitters and the cream, that I know I wouldn't use, and then I feel it's a bit expensive. Now I have 18 shades that are roughly in the same color spectrum as the new nude, and buying 2 of these is cheaper than the large palette. And I still get 18 shades that I will use. This right here is stunning as liner. I love this in the lower lash line. Oh, let me put this away so we can point at it. These two are stunning as like crease shades. The other shades in here I'm not a big fan of because they are a bit warmer toned. I feel that those work better on a darker skin tone. So that's why I say I like the shimmers in the light a lot better. Again, you get some good transition shades if you want to go super neutral and light if you're fair like me. This lavender shade is a nice pop, but again, if you cover this up, it's not that interesting, right? So you do get some good mattes in here, but for me, this shimmer is where it's at, and that shimmer. Like, those are just my favorites. So that's what I usually do looks with when I do those. And yeah, I definitely now have already found like 2 or 3 standard looks that I like doing with these little 9-pan palettes. Absolutely love it. Also in my New York haul, I showed you this. And this is the Pat McGrath Blitz Astral Nocturnal Nirvana eyeshadow quad. That was a limited edition for Christmas. She came out with 3 of these, but the 3rd one was released when I had already left New York. So the only way I can now get it is through the French Sephora, and I'm still umming and ahhing about whether I should get it. This is Nocturnal Nirvana. The one I'm still umming and ahhing about is Ritualistic Rose, I believe it's called, if it's still available, because once it's out of stock, it's gone, of course. But that also has a gold and a brown, which I have a lot of, so I don't feel I really need it because it may only feature 2 shades that I'm truly interested in, which is why I think I'm glad I went with this one in the end, because this has a really nice purple. This green, I know you can't see it, but this green is not a green. It looks like a green in the pan. I'm not sure. Now you can see it a bit. It's got like a purpley reddish, like, this is one of those shades where it's just, let me see if I can make it hit the light in a different way. Can you see that? That it just pulls a lot darker depending on how the light hits it. And on your eye, especially next to that purple, it just makes a lot of sense to use it. Like these two combined, because this blends into the purple quite nicely because it pulls that dark shift. And this blue is also really, really stunning. I've been using this a few times because I noticed the first time I used it, these shadows creased on me really, really badly. I have quite deep set hooded eyes. I just do. And that just means that a lot of shadow just creases on me, which is why I already double prime my lids. I go in with a regular primer and then a paint pot that I set. This needed even a glitter primer on top of it. I felt that with a glitter primer, these shades just looked a lot more vibrant because they all have a bit of a sheen to them. I felt that with a glitter primer, it definitely made the difference, and they did stick down a lot better. I would also recommend using fingers or pretty dense brushes with this because they have this like very creamy sort of formula. It's just really difficult to pick it up with a fluffy brush. So I would definitely sort of do like a matte eye with something like the Huda Beauty or like other neutrals that you feel go really well with these, and then use these as accent shades, or like I put the purple in the outer V without any problems. But I would recommend pulling in some mattes so that you have a basis to work with and then blend these into it. I feel that that is how they work the best. So that's why I'm still also on the fence about this, because for something this expensive, do I feel that it's worth the effort it takes to use these? And I'm not entirely sure about that yet. I think that with something this expensive, you do sort of expect it to be like, boom, yay, color. But yeah, I think that this is, it's really nice. They're super bougie, super special. I can definitely see why so many people like these special shades that Pat McGrath does. And now that I've used them, I'm definitely sort of like really wanting more, but I'm just trying to sort of also make the sensible decision rather than just like buying it again because I like it. So the next stack of palettes, because this is quite a stack, is some limited edition Essence and Catrice stuff that they came out with over the fall time. I already filmed videos with both of these collections, but the reason why I want to mention them again is that I wanted to follow up on the videos that I did because I hadn't really used them a lot outside of what I did for those videos. So the first thing, I'm not sure if this was first, I think this actually came out later, but Essence came out with these Disney Princess palettes. And there were 4 of them. I couldn't get the Tiana, but it was my least favorite color story. So I'm happy I got these 3 thanks to my friend in Germany, who I was able to ship this to and then get them, because these weren't released everywhere. This is my least favorite one because even though it has a really cool color story with a lot of purples and I think very much jasmine inspired, which I enjoy, the shimmers in this are very lackluster, which is such a shame. These do not show up the way they do in the pan, but I really want to keep around this palette because of that matte yellow, and I really like this shimmery blue as well. So it's got some really nice shades. Sadly, the quality isn't the best of this one. The Belle palette I had a lot more sort of luck with, also because it has more mattes, because I felt the mattes in these palettes were really nice. This is very neutral and everyday, and then you get these really bright pops of blue. Again, very much goes with Belle and like this, the atmosphere in the movie, I think. So in terms of color stories and linking them to these characters, I think Essence did a great job. This is just a lot of really nice neutrals. This is quite slim packaging. I can see myself using this if I want to do like an all Essence makeup tutorial at some point. My favorite of the 3 was the Ariel, already mentioned in that video. Color story wise, this is definitely up my street with all these turquoises, teals, and blues that it has. It only has a handful of warm tones, but that really goes again really well with a lot of the things that are going on in that movie. So again, in terms of color story, really cleverly done. And the shimmers in this weren't as bad as the ones in the Jasmine. So the Ariel palette I felt worked the best, which is why it's my favorite. But because this was limited edition, I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. Just even if I don't use it, like if I don't end up using it a lot, or if it's if it's just taking up too much space in my makeup collection, I like keeping around like limited edition collections, because I'm like, I have a special part of my makeup collection where I keep like sentimental makeup, because I went through so much effort trying to get my hands on these. I just thought we could like keep them around. The other limited edition collection was a joint collection by Catrice and Essence, and I definitely wanted to use these palettes more after doing the video, because I think I filmed one look using two shades from every single palette here, but I wanted to make sure I used each palette individually so I could really make up my mind. So I know these are long gone, but maybe you had the opportunity to pick these up and you were curious, or maybe you just wanted to know. I feel that these palettes by Essence and Catrice are some of the best quality they've done in a long time in terms of eyeshadow. Eyeshadow from Essence and Catrice can be very hit or miss. And I think that the Pink Glitter Show one, like this packaging is super cute. Yeah, it has this like sparkly packaging. And this has like the pinky shades. And I kind of bought this going into it. I kind of knew that this would be my least favorite one of the 3, you guys. I knew that that was going to happen, surely because this is quite warm toned, and I felt that as I was using this, I couldn't get a lot of versatile looks out of it, because a lot of the shades in this palette just look identical on the eyes, which is such a shame. So that's why this palette I didn't like as much. The quality is great. These are really nice, soft, blendable eyeshadows. The shimmers go on really nicely. This only has 3 mattes, which is a bit of a shame. But I just felt that especially like these like really interesting darker shades, I just felt that they didn't really do much of a difference, and I just couldn't really get a cohesive look out of it. Everything muddied together, just didn't stand out enough. It was a bit of a shame. But its little sister, called the Glitter Show palette, which also has this really fun like sparkly packaging. I'm sorry, I'm blinding you here. This I knew going into it would be a lot more up my street because it's cool toned. And not only is it cool toned, it also has a lot more depth and dimension to the different shades in here, so you can get a lot more versatility out of this. You get 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes, and I also feel that some of the shimmers aren't super intense, so you could still put them into crease. You get a stunning taupe, this like silver, well, really deep gray toned, I should say, has a bit of a blue tone to it. Love that. You get a cool toned brown. I was really happy with this. This really reminds me of one of those Stila palettes that was out. The one that I have is called the Eyes of the Window of the Spirit, I believe. That's what this really reminds me of, and it just does a stunning thing. The only shade that I don't really like is this like goldy shade. That's the only one I don't really use. this soft champagne. Nice inner corner highlight, but I wouldn't really do anything else with it. But it has a good transition shade, some shades to deepen things up. Yeah, I'm a fan. This is definitely one of the best palettes that Essence has done in a very long time. And the same goes for Catrice. I picked up the Queen Couture palette from that collection. And the only reason why I got this are pretty much these two shades in the middle. Because it's got a teal and a yellow, which is really interesting in this like neutrally palette, I definitely think. And it's just one that, oh my, it's just one that has a lot of really good neutrals. So again, I would always keep this around. I do have to say that while it's really good quality, really blendable, nicely pigmented, stays put on the eye very, very well as well, I think that this being an 18 pan palette, it's got a couple of repeat shades, which is a bit of a shame. So I feel, for instance, that this shade here and this shade here are identical when you put them on the eye. The same goes for this shade here and this shade here, identical on the eye. Some of these mattes aren't super diverse. So there's not a lot of versatility. Like I would have liked some more different undertones in here, but you do get a couple of like nice mauve shades and like a taupe. This gray is nice. This dark grayish, or dark brown is really nice. You get a couple of duochrome shades as well. Like this is not a straight up white. This has a bit of a duochrome to it. So it has a lot of interest and it just has some really marvelous quality. Again, I just want to keep this around forever to remind myself that Catrice can do good eyeshadow if they put their minds to it. And the last thing I already did a video with is the Focaler little stack I have here. This was a brand that contacted me and asked if I wanted to try out their brand. And I said, yes, sure, but the only thing that really interests me about your brand is eyeshadow palettes. So can I please try a few of those? And they send me their Yellow Smile palette, their Secret palette, and their Perth palette. And I already did a review about this. I tried out every single palette here. And of the three, I have to say that the Perth palette is probably my least favorite one. It's quite warm toned. I knew that going into it, but it just seemed to have some really interesting textures. And I just wanted to try it. I feel it's a bit too samey, not really what I was hoping for when I was trying this. The quality of these is quite nice. These retail for about $10 each, but I really prefer these two smaller palettes. And I'm also going to be keeping these around for a while because I now got some of the monochromatic palettes by Colourpop, and I definitely want to compare this yellow one to the Aha Honey and the green one to the Just My Luck. I like this a lot too because, like the Perth palette, it has some different textures. You get one pressed glitter and then these like really interesting intense shimmery shades. This almost reminds me of something that Huda Beauty does. You get 4 mattes. I like the dimension, it goes quite deep, and I was able to make some stunning looks with this. And the same goes for the Secret palette. I'm not sure how long these will last in my collection, but this again, this doesn't have a pressed glitter, so I'm happy about that. These shades do need a little bit of building up, but I've now swatched my Colourpop ones, and I feel that definitely the mattes in the Colourpop palettes didn't swatch the best. So I still have to try them on my face, but so far these seem to be very comparable to those, and they're actually a little bit cheaper. I have 2 more palettes left for you, and one palette I knew I wanted to mention in this video is the Venus Immortalis by Lime Crime. And the reason why I wanted to mention this is because when I showed this in my Black Friday haul, quite a few of you responded saying, I've heard really bad things about this palette, a lot of people are not liking this, they seem to get heart pan really quickly. And you guys, I have to say, I have to disagree with those opinions. I really like this. It's what's on my eyes today, and it's something I've already used a few times now. I did 3 looks with this in total, and this is such a stunning little, very well curated, cool toned palette. You know how I feel about cool tones. I love them. So I definitely wanted to make sure I included some more cool tone palettes on my channel. And I think I'm going to do like a cool toned palette 3.0 kind of video. I already have 2 palette videos on my channel where I talk about my favorite cool tone palettes, but maybe I should just do like a general overview with all the cool tone palettes I have and love. That could be a good one. Idea for 2020. Making up ideas as I'm filming it. But this is such a nice curated little palette. Mine don't have heart pan yet, But I have to say that these shimmers are so intense that I feel I don't need to foil them. I just used my finger today with this, and I feel that this is a really nice, intense, bright pop of a shimmering silver. And also the mattes, no hard pan here yet. So maybe it's not as quickly. Maybe if you wet your brush and you go into these shadows with a brush that has fixing spray on it, it won't last that long. But I've used these with my fingers, I've swatched them, and this taupe called Echo. So there you have Echo. I love taupes, you know that about me. So this is just a stunning, absolutely stunning little palette here. I love Moth as a transition shade. I actually have Cameo and Moth combined in the crease today. Ashes on the lower lash line. I used Unveil as a liner, but this is a stunning shade to deepen up the outer V as well. And then I used Hail all over the lid. Echo is on the lower lash line as well, and I used Marble in the inner corner. This would have to be my least favorite shades in this palette, because it's a white with like chunky glitter. I don't like chunky glitter in my shades, but so far I am really liking it. If I do see that the formula is starting to change in the next couple of months, I will definitely let you know, but so far so good. I've been really, really digging this palette. This is the cool tone palette I have been waiting for a long time, so thank you, Lime Crime. And then last but not least, you may have expected this to come up because I already filmed videos while wearing this palette, and that's the Melt Muerte palette. This is from their Christmas collection, the Amor Eterno collection, I believe it's called. And I knew when I spotted this color story, it's still in the box because I love the design of this so much. Eventually I'll get rid of the box, but now I'm still fangirling over this. The minute I saw this color story, I knew I had nothing like it in my collection. And I knew that it would be totally up my street. So I was like, because I know a lot of people were like, ooh, this is so unique, I know I won't wear it every single day. So that's why I'm not going to buy this palette, which I think is good reasoning. But this has all my favorite shades to wear, in terms of color. It's got greens, it's got blues, and it's got like purpley plummy shades. Love it, love it. And now that I've tried it, I can attest that this quality is amazing. This is such great quality in an eyeshadow palette. What I just really like is that it's also very cohesive, and it's also cohesive within Melt's lineup, I think. What I'm finding is that Melt is releasing palettes, and they don't have to be standalone palettes, but if you have other palettes by the brand, they kind of slot in. Guess what I want to do? Yes, get more Melt shadows, because I am in love with the quality of this palette. It's so unique, really great blendability, super pigmented, and these two shades here, they look really red on camera, and they also look pretty red in real life. But when you put them on the eyes, then Velorio is more of like a black and plum, and I would describe Sangre as like a wine color, like more of a burgundy shade. So these are just not as red as you might think, and that makes them a lot more wearable. I use this Corazon kind of shade. It's bright red, so I wouldn't use it too close to my eyes, but as a blend shade to like these reddish shades, it makes for such a stunning look. And this was the look I was wearing in one of the videos that I filmed earlier, and a lot of you seem to like that look, so I love it. This shade, Katrina, this shimmering blue, it's so stunning. Again, a palette you don't need any sort of fixing spray with, because this goes on so intense. It's like, it's got a very black base to it, but I feel that on the eye, this just looked so vibrant, because that vibrancy of the shimmer does translate to the eye, and I'm in love. So that's it, you guys. Those are all of the palettes that I tried in recent months. Definitely sort of like a good overview, I feel, with some more recent stuff, and then some things that I have had for a little while longer. So I'm just going to be trying some more eyeshadow palettes in the next couple of months, and then I hope to be back with this kind of video again early springtime, so like end of March, early April, I hope. It just takes me quite a long time to try these things out, because I want to make sure I use all the shades and, you know, have a couple of looks to show you as well when I do these videos. So, and if you would like to see what eyeshadow palettes I'm using, then make sure you check out my Shop My Stash videos, because I always feature a section in those videos of the palettes that I used in the previous month, so that I can sort of give you an idea of what I'm doing right now. And currently I'm really into neutrals, as I mentioned. So if you would like to stay up to date with what I'm using and what you might expect to see in these videos, then check out those videos. But without further ado, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in my next video. I post new videos 3 times a week, so if you could subscribe, that would be lovely too. And yeah, I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!